Calling case 22-61117, people of the state of Michigan versus Quintin Dorrough. Defendant is charged with count 1, unlawful imprisonment, count 2, domestic violence. Appearances for the record,
P78774.
And good morning, Your Honor. For a lot of appearing on behalf of Mr. Dorrough, P41508.
Is a time set for preliminary examination. Are we ready to proceed?
People are prepared to proceed, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many witnesses for the people?
2, potentially 3.
Do you have any preliminary matters you'd like to begin?
Nothing for the people, Your Honor. I guess I will say this. The living witness is not present. I expect we will be able to proceed pursuant to MCL 76837C. I will be offering statements to the officers pursuant to that statute. So I do want to put everybody on notice.
Okay. All right, call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. People will call Officer Chase
Mr. name Chase what?
Malloy, Malloy.
Lloyd. Sir, please give your name and spelling to the court reporter. Please raise your right hand. Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. The witness box right up here. Voice up and speak right into that microphone for us. You may begin when you're ready.
Good morning, sir. Could you please state your name clearly one more time for the record of the court?
Officer Chase Malloy,
And sir, how are you employed?
with Detroit Police Department Missing Persons Unit,
And how long have you been with Detroit Police?
4 years.
In addition to missing persons, do you ever work on any other types of cases?
I used to work in the precinct detective unit where we investigate general crimes. We also investigate homicides and kidnappings. Missing persons.
So were you working as a police officer in Detroit on December 27th of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And were you also working the following day, December 28th?
Yes.
And on December the 28th, did you have occasion to interview a Mr. Quintin Dorrough?
Yes.
And why were you interviewing Mr. Dorrough?
He was. When we received the report about the kidnapping, we were really able to identify the female who rented that van for the individual, for the female, the other female that was in the video. And he was identified as significant other.
Was he in fact a suspect at the time, sir?
Yes.
And the person that you interviewed on December 28th by the name of Quintin Dorrough, do you see him present in court today?
Yes.
Okay, can you please tell us where he's seated and what he's wearing?
You see it over there wearing a blue mask and a white shirt.
For the record, reflect identification of the defendant, Your Honor.
Similar.
Where did this interview take place?
At the Detroit Public Safety Headquarters.
Did you identify yourself to him as law enforcement?
Yes.
Was he handcuffed at the time of the interview?
Don't believe so, but I don't think so.
Was there a specific room that this took place in?
Yes.
What room was that? You don't have to give me the room number, but generally speaking, what is it?
Interview room.
Was anybody else present for this one?
Yes.
Who else was present?
Detective Jelani Dew.
And was this interview recorded?
Yes.
And did you inform him prior to this interview that he was the subject of criminal investigation?
I believe so.
So did you, sir, inform him of his constitutional rights under the Miranda case?
Yes.
Do you have a standard form that you use for that?
Yes.
Would you recognize that if you saw it?
Yes.
So I've already shown this to the defense, and I would present this to the witness. It's already been marked as proposed exhibit. Sir, do you recognize what I've just handed you?
Yes.
And what have I just handed you?
The constitutional rights certification of notice form.
Do Is this the form that you went over with Mr. Dorrough in that interview room at DPD headquarters?
Yes,
Okay. Does it bear your signature?
it does.
Does it bear Mr. Dorrough's signature?
Yes,
There are a number of rights enumerated on that form, listed out on that form. Did you go over each and every one of those rights with Mr. Dorrough?
yes,
Did he indicate to you that he understood those rights?
yes,
Did he make a mark next to each one of those enumerated items?
yes, as initials.
And did he initial each of those enumerated items in your presence?
Yes,
Did you notice anything unusual about his behavior that would cause you to believe he might not have known what he was doing?
no,
Did you notice any signs of intoxication?
no,
Did you ask him if he was under the influence of it?
yes,
What was his response?
no,
And sir, do you believe that he fully understood what he was doing when he was given this advice?
I do.
Move for, is this a fair and accurate copy of that document?
Yes,
Move for the admission of people's proposal.
Any objection? Oh, before you do that, have you recorded it as
Yes.
voluntary?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Officer Malloy.
good morning.
You've indicated that you were the interviewing officer that took the test.
I was one of them, yes.
You were one of them, and did you have any participation in the arrest of Mr. Moore?
Like when he was actually placed in custody?
Yes.
No, I was not there.
And do you know where Mr. Dorrough was prior to this interview? Did you go and pick him up for someplace, or was he already in the room?
He was brought down by officers.
Okay, so the first contact that you had with Mr. Dorrough was in the interrogation room. Is that fair to say?
I believe so.
Okay, and so, you've indicated that you had Mr. Dorrough execute an advice of rights, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and did he read it or did you read it?
No, 100% sure. If I read it out loud with him, or just read the first one and had him read the others out loud.
Okay, well, then maybe I should rephrase that. Were you able to ascertain whether he could read it right?
Yes,
Okay. And, did Mr. Dorrough at any time ask to stop the interrogation?
no,
Did Mr. Dorrough at any time ask to have a lawyer?
no.
Okay, and did how long was the interview?
I can't say exactly for sure. I want to say under 30 minutes.
Okay. And is this written document you have, is that like a synopsis of the interview, or is that the interview in its entirety?
It's more of a synopsis of the interview.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor. So I have no objection for exam purposes only of the,
Voluntary, you said the statement.
yes.
All
And
right,
the,
court is finding for preliminary examination purposes only that the statement was knowingly and voluntarily given. You may proceed.
Sir, did you recall what the date of the incident that you were investigating was?
I don't. I don't know what it
Do you have your report with you, or do you need me to provide it?
I do.
Would it be an objection to him refreshing his memory from the report?
no objection.
So if you could look at your report and just refresh your memory as to the date of the incident you were investigating. When you're done refreshing your memory, place the report down.
So on the 27th, I was notified of the video, and I believe the video was from the previous day, which was the 26th.
Sir, did you document this interview in the form of a written statement?
I did.
Okay. And did you write the statement, or did Mr. Dorrough write the statement?
I believe I wrote it out.
And did you review that written statement with Mr. Dorrough?
Yeah.
And did you review it to ensure, did you ask him if it was accurate?
Yeah.
And did you request that he sign the written statement?
I did.
Okay. Would you recognize that written statement again if you saw it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is People's 2.
Yeah.
And I've shown it to defense, and I'd like to approach the witness judge.
Okay.
So I'm approaching you with what I've marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 2. Do you recognize what I've handed you, sir?
Yes.
What have I handed you?
A statement form.
And is this the statement form that you completed based on the interview conducted with Mr. Dorrough?
Yes.
Okay, and does it bear a signature at the bottom?
It does.
And whose signature is it?
Mr. Dorrough's.
And did Mr. Dorrough affix his signature to the document in your presence?
Yes,
And does this document summarize the statement that he gave in the interview room with you after being advised of his rights?
it does.
Is this a fair and accurate copy of that statement? Sir?
Yes,
Your Honor, at this point in time, I will move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 2.
No objection for exam purposes.
We establish the record.
It will be established through another witness, Judge.
I'll take the admission of this exhibit.
Okay, thank you. So, sir, it indicates on that form that you inquired of him regarding an incident on the 25th of December, is that correct?
that is correct.
And did he provide you his version of events as it pertains to that date?
He did.
And is that summarized in the report?
It is.
Okay. Sir, could you please tell us what he told you regarding the event?
He stated we were at a Christmas party at his aunt's house when he, I'm gonna read it word for word for what he said. We were at a Christmas party at my aunt's house. When we left, we were driving home in the U-Haul van. When she seen the rental agreement was in another female's name, she got mad and tried getting out of the car at 7 Mile. She got back in and we started driving again. She then jumped out at 8 Mile and started walking behind the store in the alley. I got out, I got upset because she wasn't being safe. I overreacted and followed her into the alley and pushed her against the van and put her in the van.
Does it go on to, does this document go on to describe the relationship between the parties?
It does.
Okay. Did you ask him if he was in fact in a dating relationship with this woman?
Yes,
Okay. In fact, you asked him how long it was, correct?
that's correct.
And what was the answer to that question, sir?
4 years.
Sir, were you advised of, or did you ever come to know the identity of the woman in question?
Yes.
And what is the identity of the woman in question? Sir?
The report I gave to Ms. Mosley.
Would it refresh your recollection as to the identity of the person, the other person that he's referencing who reviewed your report?
Are you talking about the person who rented the van or the victim?
The female who he was talking about shoving and putting.
Yeah, if I look at my report, I can tell you.
So, Your Honor, this time I asked the officer to refresh his memory as to the name of the victim.
Next.
When your memory is refreshed, look up at me, sir.
Erica Mosley.
Sir, I have no further questions for you. Thank you.
Cross exam.
I have no, I'm sorry. I have no questions.
Thank you, sir. You may stay down.
So our next witness, sir, will be Officer Seward. Sir?
Sir, please step forward and tell the court reporter your name and spelling.
Sir.
Over here. Please raise your right hand, sir. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. The witness box right there. Please voice up nice and loud, speaking to the microphone. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, sir. One more time for the record of the court, just your name, please.
Corey Seward.
Mr. Seward, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police officer,
With what agency or department?
city of Detroit.
And how long have you been employed by the city of Detroit?
I'll have 9 years in April.
Are you employed in any special unit or specific capacity?
Yes,
What is that?
it's the AVER unit, the audio video evidence response team.
Okay, so you work, what specifically does that unit do?
We extract video.
Are you familiar with the case that brings us to court today?
Yes,
And, sir, did there come a time when you were requested to retrieve video related to the facts of the case?
yes.
How were you, can you tell us about how you were alerted to this thing?
We have a smart sheet form and the officer in charge submits a request for video extraction.
Okay, and who's the officer in charge, do you know?
I don't recall.
Were you asked to extract some video?
Yes.
And from where were you asked to extract it?
I didn't get a copy of my report. I can't recall the location, but I recall it being a hookah lounge.
Just one second, all right, sir, I'm gonna get you. When reviewing your report, refresh your recollection.
Yes.
Did you write an independent report, or was this jointly with another office?
No, it was a supplement.
You wrote a supplemental report?
Yes.
This Google, do you recall about where it was? Do you recall if it was within the city limits of the city of Detroit?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall on what occasion you went to the Google Lounge to extract any video?
I didn't make the location.
Okay, how did you come to be in possession of the video?
The contact person emailed it because he was out of town at a water park with his family. And I didn't want the video to fall off, so he emailed me the video.
So you received a video
Correct.
from a witness, correct?
Correct.
And what, if anything, did you do with that video, sir?
I placed it on evidence as well as a still shot of the email showing the chain of custody for the video.
And would you recognize that video clip that you retrieved again if you saw it?
Yes.
So I'm asking the EPA drain to pull this video up. If you could. So APA drains down into this video to pull it up for the court to show this witness.
I do have a copy of it on me.
You have a copy of it on you?
Yes.
In what format, sir?
It's on a thumb drive.
It's on a thumb drive. Can we retrieve that from you?
Yes.
So does this thumb drive you're about to hand me contain only the video associated with the case that brings us?
Yes. It's on one of these. One of them's the location on it too, and one's.
So you don't know which one has it? Correct. Okay, just a second. Let's see if we can get it.
Okay.
Apologies for the technological issues, Judge. Your Honor, with the court's permission and the way to pick the last issues, do we, on the testimony of this witness, recall him to authenticate the video after another witness or so on? Is there effective defense on that? Sir, we're gonna recall you when we have the video queued up. You step the hallway, you will remain under oath, you have to discuss your testimony or case with anybody.
Okay.
And so as we pause this officer's testimony, I would ask to call investigator Michael Jameson.
Michael Jameson?
Jameson, yeah. he's in the restroom, sorry, the big deal, I see he's in the restroom. Be right back.
Look, that's what's not.
Sorry about the logistical issues. So calling investigator Michael Jameson.
Did you get your name? Sir, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat in this box.
Sir, please state your full name for the record of the court.
Investigator Michael Jameson.
And sir, what do you do for them?
I'm an investigator with the Detroit Police Department.
In what capacity? What, any specific agency or unit?
There's domestic violence.
Are you familiar with the case that brings us to court today?
Yes, I am.
And what was your role in this?
I was the officer in charge of that case.
And did you have occasion to conduct any interviews of any witnesses associated with this case?
Yes.
Did you in fact conduct an interview with Miss Erica Mose?
Yes, I did.
And where was that interview conducted? Sir?
At headquarters.
Do you recall about when that interview was conducted?
I referred to my.
Could you, would it be okay if the officer referred to his report to refresh his recollection as to the date of the interview?
No.
So once you've refreshed your recollection, look up at me. Would you like me to present you a copy of the, you got it?
Okay.
He's just referring to, I'm gonna show it, it's just this, his. This stuff. There it is. Yeah. Have you refreshed your memory as
Yes.
to when the interview was conducted? When was the interview?
The 28th of December,
And where was that?
at, the fifth floor of, Detroit Public Safety Airport.
And why were you interviewed this much?
I was, put in charge of the case. There was a video that was surfaced, where Ms. Mosley was, assaulted and forced into a white van. Our homicide section started it, and they found out later on, discovered that it was domestic violence. It was then turned over to me. I spoke to Ms. Mosley on the phone, and made arrangements for her to come down to, show up for the interview.
So she came willingly for the interview,
Yes,
and was she under any criminal investigation?
No.
Was she detained?
No.
Was she free to leave the room?
yes,
And, sir, during this interview, did she describe to you certain events related to this video that surfaced?
yes.
And what specifically did she tell you, sir?
And Your Honor, I'm just gonna place this on the record, I'm objecting, because I believe it's considered.
And Your Honor, I would state pursuant to MCL 76627C, statements of domestic violence victim to a law enforcement officer relating to an act of domestic violence are admissible. The status of the relationship between the parties was proven by the last officer and the statement of the defendant, which I understand the court only took under advisement that the relationship portion was contained therein. And I do believe that this relationship will be expounded upon by this witness as with facts.
Pursuant to court rule, that objection be overruled.
So, sir, what did she describe to you regarding this video?
We first started talking about her relationship with Lieutenant Dorrough.
Okay.
She said she had been in a 4-year relationship with him. And, they had just recently broke up.
Okay. Now, did she identify him by name?
Yes,
Did she identify him in any other way?
she talked about the video.
And did you show her the video?
Yes,
Did she identify him on the
yes.
video? Have you had interactions with him?
Mr. Dorrough?
Yes.
Yes,
And the person that you know is Mr. Dorrough, the person who about whom Ms. Mosley was talking, you see him present. I can't tell you. You see him present here today?
he would take his mask down.
Have everyone in the courtroom take.
Yes, that's Mr. Dorrough.
So you tell us where he's seated and what he's wearing?
He's, probably has a white, polo shirt.
Reflect identification, Judge.
So noted.
So, did she describe the recent breakup, is that right?
Yes,
Okay. Did she speak to you at all about the events that occurred on Christmas, December 20th?
yes,
What did she tell you, sir?
She said that, she had been speaking and texting with Mr. Dorrough back and forth, and he invited her to a family get together that his family was giving. She told me that she didn't want to ride with him, so she got a ride there.
She described to you where this get together was,
So the east side of Detroit. She didn't know exactly what street it was.
and she described to you anything that happened at this get.
Said after being there for a little bit, that her and Mr. Dorrough had a slight falling out, and she decided to leave.
Did she tell you what happened at anything after?
She said she left the location and she was standing outside waiting for a ride. When Mr. Dorrough came out, wanting to take her home. And
What did she say happened next?
she told Mr. Dorrough she didn't want him to take her home, and they argued about that. And then Mr. Dorrough forced her into the van.
Okay. Did she describe to you anything that occurred after that?
They were driving along and he said he wanted to take her home, but she gave me the impression that she didn't want Mr. Dorrough to know where she lived. So she told Mr. Dorrough to take her to a friend's house.
Okay.
Mr. Dorrough was insisting on taking her home.
And what did she describe happened after that?
So at some point, she said Mr. Dorrough's mood became, she talked about from past incidents with him, he became violent.
Did she describe to you any further arguments that occurred between the two?
During, at that moment?
Well,
at that
in the
moment,
van. Well, in the van.
by the van. Yes.
Okay, what did she say to you?
You want exact words?
No, not really, just generally, what was the nature of her statements? They were in the van, they were arguing, what did she say after?
She said she was struck.
Okay. And what did she say happened after that?
She was struck. She told him just to let her out of the van. He refused to. He wanted to know where he wanted to take her. He assaulted her some more, trying to force her to tell him where it was. And at some point, she jumped out of the van.
Do you recall if she described to you the location at which she jumped out of the van?
The first time she jumped out of the van was near Gratiot and 7 Mile. She said, I checked that area, and I don't see Miss Mosley, but I see Mr. Dorrough in the van from the video at that McDonald's at 7 Mile and Gratiot.
Okay, so at 7 Mile and Gratiot, did she describe to you what happens after she jumps out near 7 Mile and Gratiot?
She said she tried to hide from him, but he ended up finding her.
Okay, and did she describe to you what happens after he found her?
He forces her back into the van.
Okay, and did she describe to you then anything that happens after?
They drive some more. She's assaulted again in the van. They're near 8 Mile, and she thinks Shaner at that point.
Okay, and did she describe to you anything specific that occurs at 8 Mile near Shaner?
She jumps out of the van again.
And does she describe to you what, if anything, the defendant does at that?
She says she hides from him. He's driving around looking for her. And she says she's walking down the alley when he pulls up on her again.
And does she describe to you what occurred in that alley?
He said he grabs her, tries to force her in the van, and that's when he slams her head against the side of the van.
Okay, and what happens after that, does she say?
He forces her in the van. They drive some more. He assaulted her one more time inside of the van. She begs for him to take her to a friend's house. And he finally takes her to a friend's house.
Does she describe to you about how long this incident took, or over what period of time this occurred?
She said it was at least an hour, maybe 2.
How was she acting when you talked to her?
She was afraid.
When you say she was afraid, what if anything was she doing that led you to believe she was afraid?
She teared up when she talked about it. She talked about the fact that her teenage daughter had saw the video and her niece, and she was embarrassed about it.
So there was a video that you referenced earlier. How did that video come to your attention?
It was brought to my attention, well, it was discovered by an officer at the 9th precinct.
Discovered, how was it discovered?
And I'm not sure the website.
It was on a website? It was just on a website?
On the website, News in the D or
A Crime in the Day?
Crime in the D.
Did you view this video on that website?
Yes.
And were you able to ascertain from where this video came?
I couldn't tell at the point, but after I got information from The officer at 9, it happened at 8 Mile in January. There's a football shop there.
And did you assign anyone to retrieve original copies of this video?
Yes,
Who did you assign to retrieve an original copy of this video?
if I'm mistaken, Officer Stewart, the paper.
Was he able to do that?
Yes,
And sir, did you observe any injuries on Ms. Mosley?
yes.
What specifically did you note on Ms. Mosley?
Her left side of her face was actually was coming down. Her eye was still black and bloodshot.
Any other injuries?
That's what I recall.
Were you able to locate the van that was used in this incident?
Yes.
How were you able to do that, sir?
It wasn't me who did it. One of the officers at homicide, they got the plate from the van. I ended up talking to the rental company. The rental company gave us the renter of the van. Went to that address, the person who rented the van, and the van was at that location.
Did you observe any damage to the van?
Yes,
What specifically did you observe?
there is a large dent in the front driver's side fender.
Now,
We
you-
call it the fender on the
You
van.
reviewed this video, correct?
Yes,
And you saw Ms. Mosley make contact with somebody with the van, correct?
yes,
Was the damage that you observed in the van at about the location you saw Ms. Mosley make contact?
yes,
And did you show this video to Ms. Mosley, correct?
yes.
Was she able to identify herself in this video?
She said that, yes. Yes,
She said that was her?
Yes.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Cross examine.
Thank you. Good morning, officers. How are you? Or I should say, officer in charge.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You've indicated that you had, the complainant, did she come into the police station?
Yes,
And so you had her come to the police station and you interviewed her, correct?
yes,
And when you interviewed her, did you deduce this to writing in your police report?
no,
How did you complete the information that you just put on the record?
I made a supplement to the original police report. Ms. Mosley didn't want to give a statement.
Okay, so she didn't want to give a statement, but you had her in the police station. And is it your testimony that what you just put on the record is statements that she made to you while she was at the police station?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had her at the police station interviewing her because you wanted to find out what happened, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and, you wanted to determine like what charges to file and how to proceed in the case, basically. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so after you spoke to her and she made these statements, you said you wrote them in a supplemental document. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and at the time, do you know if Mr. Dorrough arrested at the time that she made her statements or not?
Yes, ma'am.
He was under arrest. He had already been arrested,
Yes.
correct? Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor, and I do need to place something on the record based on this testimony. And that's that this does not apply, this type of testimony doesn't apply to the Michigan statute because in David versus Washington, which is the U.S. Supreme Court case 547 U.S. 813, 126, Supreme Court 2266, you have to determine first whether the testimony is testimonial or non-testimonial. So in a domestic violence case, non-testimonial statements would be like if there's an emergency, and specifically what the Supreme Court said was, statements are non-testimonial when made in the course of a police interrogation under circumstances objectively indicating the primary purpose of the interrogation is to enable police to assist or to meet an ongoing emergency. The Supreme Court said non-testimonial statements in a domestic violence case is testimony when the circumstances objectively indicate that there is no emergency, and there was no emergency in this case because Mr. Dorrough was under arrest and he was in custody, And the primary purpose of the interrogation is to establish or prove past events potentially relevant to later criminal prosecution. And the officer has indicated that that's exactly what his testimony was. So the Supreme Court has held that this type of testimony is not allowed under the statute because it is testimonial in nature. David v. Washington is a controlling case. That's a 2006 case. And prior to that, the Supreme Court in Crawford had established, even before you get to this, you first have to determine that the person is unavailable to testify. We don't know that because, I don't know whether she's unavailable or not. And second, that the defendant had a prior opportunity to cross-examine the declarant. Well, we know that didn't happen because this is not testimony from a preliminary exam, a court hearing, or anything of
I
that
think
nature.
this statute that we're referring to here, though, is separately aside from that.
But this case law is talking about using this type
I'm
of
not
testimony.
arguing about your Supreme Court case law.
Okay.
I'm talking about the one you just cited, Crawford.
Right.
That Crawford, I don't believe applies here. This statute was adopted after Crawford.
I understand that, Your Honor, but I'm just saying that this case would apply to the situation because it is testimonial in nature. It's
I get
exactly
that.
what they
Let's hear
said.
from Mr. King.
So, Your Honor, I do agree that were this to be a trial, we may have a Crawford issue here. However, as the Michigan
I
Court of
think we're in agreement that Crawford doesn't
Right.
apply.
As the Michigan Court of Appeals has clearly stated in People versus Only, OLNEY, 333 Mich. Act 575, there is no unavailability requirement of the statute and the confrontation
Are
clause
you still
rights.
talking about Crawford? Because I'm not dealing with Crawford. I'm dealing with the Supreme Court case she just talked about.
And Davis is an expansion of Crawford, which is an expansion of the trial right of confrontation. There is no trial right of confrontation. People v. Davis is a specific expansion.
Specifically speaking, Mr. King, she's talking about whether this testimony is being proffered as testimonial in nature.
Right, and the testimony, whether it's testimonial in nature, is only an inquiry the court gets to if the court has to decide if it is a confrontation clause violation. We don't have to make a decision as to whether or not it's a confrontation clause violation, as there is no right to confrontation at the preliminary exam stage, as the Michigan Court of Appeals has stated in the only case.
Ms. Watt, give me that site again.
It is. It is David versus Washington, 2006 case. The site is 547 US 813.
547 US
813. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, give me a second.
May I ask you to look at the only case?
Okay, Mr. Clinton, what's your site again?
Was, people versus Colby, 237 Mishap 319.
When was that decided?
This was decided in 2018.
2018?
You said 237 inch at
219.
319.
237 Mishap 319. 2019 case.
What's the name of the case again?
People versus OLNEY, only. Just a second, we can write it on this one. Two only cases, 327, Mishap 319.
327?
327. It's my dyslexia.
237.
Sorry about that. Decided March 14th night.
Thank you. This case appears to be directly on point. A case of people being only, that require, it does not require unavailability. And according to the Court of Appeals, there's no violation of the confrontation clause based on the statute. So the objection is no.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions for this witness. I'm not sure if it's for the cross.
I have no further cross, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So you accept.
And I'll recall previously testified with the story this time. So you've seen this.
We're all about to see.
Yeah.
Let me see.
You don't, there was no video. It's all right.
I mean, I don't have it. I don't know if the court's gonna look at it, but I do want to place my objection on the record.
What's your objection?
I don't have the discovery. I don't have the video.
I like to say is that full discovery was tendered. I'm not sure if it was an issue with our computer system.
Why are you not just bringing this to our attention?
Because, when they told me about video, I thought they were talking about his testimonial video, which they took to the police station. Mr. Ang did mention that there was some other video. I didn't know who was
Would you
going to.
like to take the opportunity to review it?
I didn't realize that we were gonna watch it today, but I guess we are. So I definitely want to place my objection on the record.
No, just go ahead and watch the video.
Here, want to look at it with us?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it.
I'm seeing Your Honor, but I have to protect myself. So I'm placing my objection on the record for not having received prior.
The record should also reflect Ms. White has had opportunity to view the video in court here. It's approximately how long?
It is 37 seconds.
37 seconds long.
And I will assure that any issues with the discovery are cured by the end of business.
Thank you.
So let me remind you that you're still in the oath. You may proceed.
So, officer, you previously testified you were assigned to retrieve some video and you did so, correct?
Yes,
Would you recognize that video again if you saw it?
yes.
So I would like to, if I could, share my screen with the board on Zoom.
Go ahead. You moving for submission?
Well, I just want to have them identify it first before we move for submission. Screen share. So take a look at the screen up there. Do you recognize what we're looking at?
Yes,
And how, have you seen this before?
yes.
In what context have you seen it before?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Is this the beginning frame of the video you retrieved in connection with the case?
Yes,
Okay. And is it an accurate copy of the video that you retrieved in connection with the case?
yes,
And it bears a timestamp at the top. Was that part of the original video?
yes,
It also bears a watermark from the security system. Was that part of the original video that you received?
yes,
Sir, is it, at this time, Judge, I would move for the admission of the video. He has authenticated it by its first frame. I offer to play it for the board.
Admitted over your objection, Ms. White.
Thank you.
So, Your Honor, we'll make this people's verdict. So sort of that, a full playing and a fair and accurate copy of the video that basically prompted the case and where it moved forward.
Yes.
No further questions.
Charles Grant,
I don't have any questions.
thank you, sir. You may step.
There are no further witnesses or exhibits.
Right, do you have any witnesses for the witness?
No, you're not.
People?
None of the people move for bind over as charged, based on the evidence presented to the court today, based on the statement, read into the record relating to the complaining witness. It's quite clear that the defendant, at least on one occasion, by his own admission, at least on two occasions, forcibly put this victim, Miss Mosley, into a van. We can see the amount of force that he used in the video. We actually see her foot in the air, kind of in the windshield area of the van. She was fearful when she presented to the officer. She had made no indication it was against her will. I think it's quite clear that he took her, put her in this video, in this van, and confined her secretly against her will. Furthermore, Your Honor, because we don't need to move for admission of count two as it is in this, but we would move for bind over.
Your Honor, and based on the court's ruling, which allowed the hearsay testimony of the complainant, I believe it's a question of fact for the trier of fact.
I agree, it is a question of fact. The court, after hearing the testimony of a number of police officers, where we don't have a complaining witness here to testify, pursuant to the court rule, the court is satisfied that the burden of probable cause as it relates to the charges contained in the complaint. The court finds those charges were committed in the city of Detroit. The court finds probable cause for the committed. Then it will be bound over to Wayne County Third Circuit Court Criminal Division for further proceedings. This arraignment, all the information, date and time will be February 24th, 2023 at 9:00 a.m. There are any issues as to them? Will be continued.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.